Hello, everyone, and welcome back to of Tax Thursday here now on YouTube. I'm your host, DDQ, with resident tax attorney of Smart Counsel, Dion Kellier. How are you,
Hello.
Dion?
I am well. How are you?
Awesome, doing well. Thanks so much for joining us. If you are new here, Smart Counsel is a minority owned, women owned boutique law firm. Our attorneys practice all kinds of different practice areas, so sorry. From strategic planning, corporate, obviously to tax. You can learn more about our firm and our attorneys by visiting our website at www.smart-counsel.com. So, for today's episode, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. As always, I always say that, but it's so true. It looks like the IRS destroyed a bunch of documentation for taxpayers in of March 2021. What's going on with that? What can you tell us about that, Dion?
All right. So, first thing, it's going to affect your 2020 taxes because this was done in March 2021. So, of each year,
Oh,
we're in the former tax year, right? So, right now, we're in the 2021 tax year, even though we're in year 2022. All right. So,
okay.
did you mail your documents to the IRS? And the IRS promises that destruction of tax forms won't lead to penalties. What am I talking about? So this statement comes from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, and it's TGT. I'm going to use the acronyms coming later, but that's what I'm talking about. So the statement comes after the Treasury Inspector prominently mentioned in a report issued Monday that the IRS had destroyed about 30 million paper filed information returns. And this is last Monday because that's how I came to my head. In March 2021, prompting outrage from tax professionals. The TIGTA, so that's going to be the acronym used, initially reported the destruction of the forms in September. So there was an audit done by the TIGTA, and it revealed that the IRS tossed data for millions of taxpayers. And it doesn't say that the actual 1040 income tax form, because when you file your taxes, it's on a form 1040. So it doesn't say that the actual 1040 income tax forms were destroyed, but only the information returns used to support the filings were destroyed, meaning like your 1099 or a W-2 or a 1099 dividend statement or a 1099 retirement statement. And the IRS uses those documents to post-processing. This is how you get audited, right? So if somebody sends in a 1099, sends in their portion of it, and then you don't include it in your income, then the IRS is like, there's something going on, and then they follow up with questions. Well, now they don't have those paper forms to do the comparisons. And so common information return forms include the W-2, 1099, 1098, among others. And the continued inability to process backlogs of paper filed tax returns contributed to management's decision to destroy an estimated 30 million information return documents in March 2021. So,
How does something like that get destroyed? Is someone just like, oops, it went through the shredder, or was there like an accident?
so it was not an oops. It was actually the software that they were using. It just couldn't handle anymore. So somebody made the decision. Of course, they're not saying who it is, but I'm pretty sure that the person that actually did the destroying was not the person that made the decision. And whoever's going to get caught, if they name somebody that's outside of the person that's in charge of the IRS, in my opinion, that person, they're headed on their way out anyways, right?
That's so crazy to me that something like this can like happen.
So ridiculous. So
You went and
my best
searched.
friend, her name is Monique, by the way, so I'll mention her a couple
Oh
of
yeah,
times.
she's
Best
a
friend to
follower.
seven. Exactly. So we were talking about it, so I went looking for it. So it said the IRS backlog created by years of budget cuts, understaffing, pandemic-related office closures, and added duties is expected to be cleared by December, according to Commissioner Charles Reddick. The report doesn't specify which information returns the agency chucked. The news has triggered angry responses from tax professionals, and so the missing information could cause a mismatch of people's returns. And while the eventual consequences of the decisions are unknown, the IRS says that nobody's been negatively affected. The IRS says that there have been no notices that have gone out since February,
There are no
and
notices.
no negative notices have gone
Okay.
out since February. But this
Interesting.
is your March 2020 return. So this is why I always say keep permanent records. If you're in the marijuana industry, you keep your permanent records forever. If you are just a regular person, I would say the IRS has 3 years. You keep it for 5 years so that just in case, because they're always going to be able to adjust the statute in their direction, statute for the
Mm-hmm.
statute of limitations. So the IRS says there were no negative taxpayer consequences as a result of this action. Taxpayers or payers have not been and will not be subject to penalties resulting from this action. Right. So 99% of the information returns we used were matched to corresponding tax returns and processed. The remaining 1%, or 30 million, of those documents were destroyed due to a software limitation to make room for new documents relevant to the 2021 filing season.
Wow. So if they haven't sent out any negative
They say they
notification,
haven't sent
right?
out any negative notices.
Right. Like how are people supposed to know, if they are affected by this? Is this later gonna come down the road, 5 years from now or 3 years from now and just like
I
okay.
absolutely am 100% confident that this is going to come back and swing and hit people in the back of the head. And they might not even listen to the story. They might not have even heard about it. They might forget. This is going to be something that is going to, there's no way that you can chuck 30 million documents and it doesn't affect people negatively. You can tell me that all day long that it won't affect anybody. I don't believe you. I don't.
Right. No,
Because
definitely.
yeah, it's no way. So,
Right.
okay, let's see. The IRS said with the supporting documents destroyed, the IRS will likely be missing many of the documents, and so you're going to get audited, right? If you're one of these people that fall into line, and then the people that really fall into this, it's not even necessarily you and I as the individuals. It's going to be businesses, and I'll get into that a little bit later.
Mhm.
They previously, the TIGTA previously reported that there were actions the IRS could take to reduce paper filings and or convert paper tax returns into electronic format.
So you
But
said it's gonna affect businesses more than individuals.
absolutely, because
Okay.
businesses typically, depending on where you fall, most small businesses, I'll say, they will probably be the ones most negatively affected because they're the ones that are most likely sending the paper forms.
Oh
And
man.
so the TITGA made 3 recommendations to the IRS because they already saw this coming, right?
Right. Right.
And so they said to the IRS that they need to develop a service wide strategy to prioritize and incorporate all forms for e filing. So, this is for the businesses. They need to develop processes and procedures to identify and address potentially non compliant corporate filers. We'll get to that. And develop processes and procedures to ensure that penalties are consistently assessed against business filers that are non compliant with the e filing requirements. All right. So for the first strategy to develop a service-wide strategy to prioritize and incorporate all forms of e-filing, the IRS agreed with that recommendation, and but they didn't agree with the other two. IRS management stated that they did not need to develop processes and procedures to identify non-compliant corporate filers because all requirements needed to assess the penalties are not known at the time of filing. The IRS also has systemic processes in place for e-filed partnership returns, which were found to be working as intended. Other types of business returns have differing criteria for e-filing and exceptions to their requirements, which prevent the implementation of a standard process for all business filers. So this is really affecting business owners. And it believes that the IRS management justification for taking no action on the other two recommendations are insufficient. And in the view of the backlog of paper returns, the IRS should take additional steps in an effort to continue reducing paper filings. So who has to do e-filing right now?
Yeah.
Partnerships that have more than 100 partners, heavy highway vehicle use tax. So you have to be reporting 25 or more vehicles in any taxable period. Any corporations that corporate tax returns 1120, 1120S, and 1120 F. Your assets of 10 million or more, and you have to have 250 returns, including information returns filed annually. Tax exempt organizations, and the employer tax return. So the 940s, 941, 940s, like those are the only people right now that are required to e-file. So then think of everybody else that falls into that category. Any small business, somebody who doesn't have 100 partners, somebody that, has a business that doesn't have more than 25 vehicles. So
So do you think that this is kind of like the beginning of pushing towards e-filing and kind of veering away from the paper filing?
I don't know because I think that the IRS is so, I don't think that the IRS, so while I think that e-filing is a good thing, there are things that the IRS cannot handle through e-filing. Why they didn't develop the system to e-file everything when they developed the first, set of systems to e-file, I don't know. So like, for instance, an individual files their tax return, which is a 1040, you can e-file that. But if you're going to amend your tax return, which is a 1040X, you have to mail it.
Really?
Yes, and like that, you don't have an option to e-file it.
So something like that could have gotten destroyed in this 30 million. Wow.
They said they don't know what was destroyed, but they know that none of us were negatively affected.
This
So,
is
I
so
mean,
like suspicious.
it is,
Like
right?
it's
And
such
then
a big question mark to me. Like, how does something like this happen?
who was the one that said delete? That's what I want to know. What did they tell you? If it was an accident, which there should be no way that that should be an accident. But
Yeah.
if it was an accident, it would be more understandable than they're being like, all right, well, there's system limitations. I mean, you're the IRS, right?
Yeah, right.
Hire someone, buy more storage. I gotta buy Gmail storage every month.
I know,
What?
but seriously though, and that was something
It's
I kept reading was like with, the whole pandemic and the shortage of staff and like this is going to be kind of like a long time to kind of recover from it. Is that
I
right?
don't know if we'll ever recover from it. I mean, like, I honestly, I don't know if we're ever gonna recover. Because I feel like there's a level of it that they use as an excuse, right? To be like, oh, it's a pandemic. It has, we're backed up X, Y, Z. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's always going to be an excuse because like it's budget short. It's no staff. It's shortages. It's this. It's that. It's the pandemic. It's like, did you read your mail? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? And at the end of the day, these are people's lives at stake, right? Because
Right.
you know, as we discussed a couple tax Thursdays ago, people get really scared when the IRS contacts them. Can you go to jail, or are you going to go to jail for like an initial IRS notice? I want to say no, of course, depending on what the notice says. All right, if you did PPP fraud, no, that's different. I'm just talking about not filing your tax return. Like you're not going to go to jail, but you know, if you don't, I don't believe even for them to just be like nobody was negatively affected. Like at least one person had to be negatively affected,
Yeah.
at least one. So
How
I,
is,
no,
sorry, go ahead.
no, no, I just don't know how it's going to turn out.
It just kind of makes me wonder, like, how is this, if it will at all affect like refunds, like for taxpayers?
Yeah, no, and so it will affect refunds, right? Because so what it is going to do, it won't, the way that it's going to play out is like this in my mind. If like Dion files a tax return and I say that I got a W-2 from Smart Counsel, for instance, and then Smart Counsel's W-2s happen to be one of those W-2s that were destroyed, then then the IRS will take that, the fact that I said that I made, $20 from Smart Counsel, and hope that Smart Counsel also said that Dion made $20. But what if the W-2 that Smart Counsel gave Dion said $100, and then I, manipulated my W-2 to say $20?
Right, right.
You know, so it's like it's going to be, I don't necessarily think that I don't think it's going to affect individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And then by March 2021, we'd be in the 2020 tax year, and nobody would have really amended their returns by that time anyways, right? Because taxes weren't due until like April or June in
Right.
2021. So then that, if we think about it that way, then it's going to be businesses it's going to be businesses that are affected, and anybody who now in 5 years is going to get audited, for instance, for whatever, maybe something totally unrelated to this. If
Yeah.
you now seek a copy of your transcript from the IRS, is it going to actually match what your situation is?
Oh my gosh. That sounds like such a mess.
It sounds like such a mess. Like I am like, I'm floored that this happened, and that the laissez-faire attitude about it, like, yeah, yeah, nobody was ever gonna do it like that. Like,
I know.
that's not. I
I
don't believe that.
know.
Like,
Right. That's what
yeah.
makes me raise my eyebrow, where it's just kind of like a lax situation. But like to us, if it's affecting us, this is kind of like everything's on fire.
No, everything is on fire. That's exactly, everything is on fire. They're like, no, 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 it's okay. You don't have to. You can walk. You can take the elevator.
Right.
That's,
Right.
it'll be fine.
It's fine. You'll be
It'll be
fine.
fine. Don't worry about it. Just
What would
blink.
you Right. Blink twice for help. So what would
Right.
you say to like a business or a business owner on a situation like this? Some piece of advice.
Okay, so my proactive advice is going to be, whatever you send to your
Mm-hmm.
CPA, do it on an electronic copy, right? So everything that you send, either keep a physical copy or an electronic copy of the full file tax year. Keep them for 7 to 10 years in a, fireproof, waterproof, lockable place, so that if something like this ever happens, you could go to 2020 and be like, okay, take out all your documents for 2020,
Right.
and you can hand it over to the IRS. Or you have a system like QuickBooks that will keep things, electronic. Because, like, I think about, we did the 1099s, and we have to mail in the copies. And so if they throw all those copies away, we also keep another set of copies. So
Right.
we have two signed copies. One is the one that actually gets mailed off, and the other one is just our copy to keep in the office. And it's probably because I do this that I'm just so anal about this kind of stuff.
I mean, look what happens.
Look what happened. And
Who'd
we
have
would have
thought?
never, I know that we would have never known this. Like,
Yeah.
this was not a voluntary, like, hey, let me tell you guys, we screwed up. No. Something happened, and we
Mm-hmm.
were gonna find out regardless. And so they kind of had to, stop the
Put
bleeding.
something out there. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is so sneaky.
Right.
That's crazy. So keep everything, records of absolutely everything. My understanding in the marijuana industry, that's something that you should be doing no matter what,
No
right?
matter what. If you're a regular person, keep it for 7 to 10 years. If you're in the marijuana industry, just get a room that you drop these in forever, as long as you're in business, and probably 10 years after that.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on just like, I don't know. I always have this fear that something's gonna come up. I have stuff from high school, like notes, like just receipts on everything. I'm like, you just never know. So it's better than sorry, right?
Well, you're right. And let me tell you, yes, I tell everybody, keep all your stuff. I am a shred maniac. I shred everything. One time I was shredding something I needed. I was like, oh, and I tried to pull it back.
No,
I shred
no.
everything. I know. I am the worst, right?
Yeah,
If it's not, I'm hoping I uploaded it. So what I do, though, for my taxes is I will upload the packet. But this year I didn't do it. I dropped it off, and so I'm hoping when I get my packet back, I will keep that, or I'll scan it in. But I shred everything. Receipts. If I went yesterday and it's on my account today, that thing is going to the
like
shredder
that.
tomorrow.
You're not the only one that's like that, though. People hate paper
I
filing.
hate
You
it.
know.
I've kept things, it's only because, like, I've kept things for a long time, and it's like nothing ever happened. And then now when I have to shred boxes and
Yeah.
boxes. I still have law firm stuff, so if I ever had a law firm or any of that, I have that stuff. I don't shred other people's stuff. My own stuff, shred maniac. My wallet has no receipts in it. If it
Good for
didn't
you.
happen within the last 24 hours, I don't have it. Sorry, I'm
Good
not the
for you.
person.
I need to be like you. I'm like the total opposite. I'm like spring cleaning mode right now, and I swear I just pulled like science notes from high school. I have no
Oh,
idea why I have it. It's just like, I don't
I
know.
know. No, I know. And like, you keep things, like, I'll keep, like, little things, but I won't know. Information, law school, gone. The only stuff that I still have is from when I got my LLM, and that's only because that was more recent than anything else. And believe
Yeah.
you me, in about 5 years, I know myself. I know those things. That is getting
God.
tossed. Yes.
Awesome. So, big takeaways from this topic:
So
IRS lost documents. What else?
So don't be alarmed if you're contacted saying, I mean, like at the end of the day, if you're a business owner, don't be alarmed if you're contacted and the IRS is asking you for proof that, all of your employees made whatever that they claim. If you're not a business owner, but you're an individual and you get a notice from the IRS asking you for proof for whatever documents you would have sent in, especially if you did an amended return. And I would probably say if you did if you did your 2019 return late, because that's going to get caught. So the thing is, we don't know. Did somebody file their 2018, 2019 tax return? Probably. They're only talking about 2020 tax year. There are so many things that could flow from this, and you just don't know. So if you're anybody that filed paper with the IRS between January and March of 2021, then this is going to affect you. And they said that, people found out in September of 2021. So that means between March and September, nobody knew what was going on. And even worse is all businesses have to have their 1099s and W-2s out to their employees by January 31st.
Jeez, this is
So
so crazy.
I'm not, and then at the end of the day, they also have their limitations, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when COVID shut the world down, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't even know. Listen, you didn't even want to stand next to somebody. Mask, no mask. At first, I was like, I'm not wearing a mask. Then I was wearing like 7 masks, and then it was like, I'm not touching doors. I'm using my knees. I'm using my elbows. I'm not doing anything. And so, I would say at about that time, yeah, like at about March 2021, we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if we
Right.
were going to survive. We didn't know if this thing was flowing in the air because, yeah, it started coming in 2020. And so we made it through 2020. And I guess we had more information. So then the vaccine started coming like the end of 2020. I mean, like, I, I know that there was a point in time. I'll say this. If this happened in March 2021, I can only imagine what happened in like 2020 when we really
Oh my
didn't know.
gosh.
We didn't know, like when those numbers started spiking and then people would blink and they'd be dead. You're like, oh my god, oh my
Right.
god. So if you
Right.
work,
No, for sure.
you don't, you don't know, you don't think you're gonna, you probably think these people are gonna die or whatever the case may be. And like we can laugh about it now, but imagine what you remember what we were like back then,
Yeah.
like
Wow.
scared of the world.
Right.
And we're
Just
not even
so
talking
unsure.
exactly, and we're not even talking about what's going on in the world now because I don't even know. Was it better for us to be in the house? Or is like everybody being out now making them crazy because they were in the house all this time? I
Right.
really don't know, but it has affected everybody. And then, government wise, when you typically, when you have a Republican government, they want smaller, or Republican leaders in government, they want smaller government. Democrats want allegedly larger governments. So there's always going to be cuts in a Republican years, and then there's going to be not cuts in Democratic years. And, that's kind of like that's how things even out. So the IRS was like bare bones. I don't know if they're ever going to have enough money to run efficiently. I don't think it's like the postal service. You remember when the post office boxes were going away and
Yeah.
like you were getting mail like every 3 days? Like what
Yeah.
I have been in my whole life, I've never seen anything like that
Right.
ever. Not even hurricanes. Like maybe a day we won't get mail, but like you can't find a box to drop mail in, and then they firing all these people and they're closing boxes. So like there were all these factors I feel like that contributed to you know the IRS making such a I feel like it was an irrational decision
Yeah.
because I think you could have gotten another software, got another developer. I mean, you only have access to the best of everything.
I don't know. What are we paying? Just kidding.
You're right. What are we not voluntarily paying for, right? Because as soon as you get that check,
Right, exactly. It's so true. Oh
yeah.
gosh. Well, I guess we'll find out more later this year, next year.
We'll find out. So they say that no notices have gone out, but I know that I've gotten notices from my clients in February. But those could have been actually I got notices from my clients that were dated like the beginning of February. So that in and of itself, I know that I've gotten some. That those tax years. You know what? Funny enough, one of the now I'm thinking about it. One of them, they would have fallen into this situation, but
Huh.
as far as the year, but their situation was so different that I don't think that that was the issue. But, I think that it's going to happen. I think that this is going to, I think like 2 years, 3 years from now.
We'll see.
Yeah. And I think that things like, like when you have the child tax credit, so you get
Yeah.
the child tax credit, and then like say one parent can claim one year, the other parent can claim the other year, and then like a parent claims in a year that either they shouldn't claim or that they should claim, but the other parent claimed, then the IRS sends you a notice that you have to send proof of XYZ and you have to mail that in. So I think that those are going to be the things that are going to be affected. Like it's going to be the domestic relations, it's probably going to be definitely businesses, small businesses for sure. And, it's just an unfortunate situation.
Yeah. It kind of comes down to what we say at the end of every tax Thursday is make sure you're working with a really good tax preparer. So they have all of these, on record,
Absolutely.
not those pop up that are gone, you see once a year or maybe they're the first time there because then it's kind of like, what do you do?
You're done. So what do? You take what the IRS gives you.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Exactly. So I think that's like, you know, the summary of every tax Thursday is just to have someone on your side that knows what they're doing and that's there all the time and
right.
can help you with any kind of weird crazy situation like this.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you are ever in this position, I mean, I can help you with it. So you could always contact me, Dion at smart-counsel.com. And, like, I know that my, for anybody, if I have a client and whatever their issue was fell between this time, that is my first defense that I'm putting out there. If
Right.
they did, in fact, say, sometimes you did what they said you did. So, like, there's nothing I can do for you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much, Dion. I guess we will find out TBD to be continued, I guess,
Right.
what happens with this whole situation. And if you are affected or have questions, reach out to Dion or you can DM us on Instagram. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. We have both at smart_counsel and Tax Thursdays. And if you want to see a topic on here discussed between Dion and I, send that over to us via Instagram as well. But
Yes.
until then, we will be back next Thursday for another new episode of Tax Thursday live chats. Dion, thanks again.
Thank you so much. And if I have any more updates on this topic, I will let you know.
Yes, please do. Awesome. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.